This section is called The Vine, about 1850, rural North Carolina. It turned out that I had to use the point of view of a vine in this novel, and this is the first section from the vine's point of view. I was planted as a seedling by the back steps soon after first light on the day the field hand died, planted by a woman named Cora Rosa Hunter Novella Caroline Hildred Martha Bird Taylor Copeland. Her husband Walker called her Puss. Others called her Caroline. She dug a hole by the back steps with the piece of a grub hoe she used for her flowers. It was very early in the morning and cool. Beyond the pasture and the pond, a wisp of low fog flung along, just dipping into the tops of trees. Walter called from inside. "Puss, where are you?" "Out here planting a wisteria." Walter stepped onto the back porch, stopped, pulled his suspender straps over his shoulders. Caroline pressed loose dirt with her foot. "It'll have a chance to get a good start before it gets too hot. I want to get something started back here, and I want you or Isaac one to build a trellis." Caroline walked over into the kitchen and started a fire to cook breakfast. The children, Isaac, Vera, and Ross, the smallest, came out of the house and went briefly to their spots in the woods. When they came back, Vera washed her hands with water from a pan on the porch and then pulled up a cloth-covered pail of milk from the well. Ross looked around, then picked up a rock and threw it at a chicken as a man came out of the smokehouse. Thomas Pittman, the field hand. "Don't do that," Thomas Pittman said. Ross frowned and went into the kitchen. Thomas Pittman took breakfast in the yard, sitting with his back against a tree. They finished eating, and the chicken and Walker fed the animals, and the children and Walker fed the animals. Then they all went to the field. Before the sun was straight above, Walker rolled Thomas Pittman back into the yard in a wheelbarrow, 1 foot dragging. Ross was with Walker. He stood watching as Walker with difficulty got Thomas Pittman up onto the back porch and laid him down, went inside, got a long coat, covered the body down to just below the knees, then said to Ross, "Now you stay here and watch him. Don't let the dogs get at him. And shell at their pan of peas while you're at it." "Yes, sir." Walker stared at the covered corpse, scratched himself, then started back to the field. Ross sat on the back steps and looked for a while at the shape of Thomas Pittman under the coat. Then he stood and walked with long bouncing strides over into the kitchen. 2 bird dog puppies ran from around the corner of the house. One stopped, squatted, peed, then scrambled up the steps toward the corpse. The other one followed. The first approached the head of the corpse, bit and held the coat at Thomas Pittman's head, growled, shook it back and forth, and moved backward, uncovering the head. The other puppy started for Thomas Pittman's pale face, stopped, wagged his tail, and suddenly reared onto his hind legs, then went for the ear, licked it, bounded back, bounded forward again, and licked the neck below the ear, then started barking. Ross came running. "Get away from there! Get!" He ran up the steps, grabbed the puppies, dropped them down off the porch, and placed the coat back over Thomas Pittman's head, pausing, looking at the face. Thomas Pittman's eyes and mouth were open. The puppy's mother, Trader, came slowly from around the corner of the house, followed by 3 more puppies. The porch puppies went for her. She lay on her side in the shade of the eaves, over little holes made by rain dripping from the roof, and gave milk, tiny puppy mouth hairs touching her nipples, tongues, and mouths, making tight, sucking noises. That afternoon, late, Thomas Pittman was laid out somewhere in the house. Caroline and Walker decided that his heart burst. Caroline had come upon him, she told people, lying face down in a cotton row. That night, Walker and his brother Julius, sitting on the back steps, smoking and talking, decided to bury Thomas Pittman out beyond the kitchen beside the woods. Thomas Pittman was buried in a pine coffin made by Richard Stott. Richard let them use one he had made for his father, who was lingering. This is how the graveyard was started one summer. Then, in October, on the second full moon, that is, a blue moon, as the day died after sunset but before dark, there gradually appeared the outline of Thomas Pittman rocking in a rocking chair beside his grave. And as he's been joined by others there in the graveyard, beyond where the kitchen once stood, I, on blue moons, have seen and heard, still see and hear them all. So, when I was growing up, my mother used to tell me a story over and over and over, and I incorporated it into the stage version of The Bible Salesman. And the story goes like this. Once upon a time, there was an old woman who lived way out in the woods, all alone by herself. And every night, she made biscuits and gravy. And she'd go to the door, and she'd call out in the woods. She'd say, "Who's coming to eat biscuits and gravy?" And nobody ever answered. She'd go back in and cook her biscuits and gravy and sit alone and eat them. And one night, when she called out, "Who's coming to eat biscuits and gravy with me tonight?" Far, far away, a voice said, "I'm coming." She went back in. She put the biscuits in the oven. She got out the frying pan and heated it. Went back to the door and said, "Who's coming to eat biscuits and gravy with me tonight?" Not that far away, a voice said, "I'm a-comin'." She went back inside. She got the biscuits out. She greased the pan, put the flour and started the gravy. Went back to the door. You're supposed to stay in the spirit. Who's coming? Might as well go in that direction, even down the door. Who's coming to eat biscuits and gravy with me tonight? And right around the corner, a voice said, "I'm a-comin'." She went back inside. She got things out on the table, and in through the door walked a tall man with long hair and long fingernails and long teeth. And she said, "Why do you have those long fingernails?" And he said, "To dig graves with." She said, "Why do you have that long hair?" He said, "To smooth over the graves with." She said, "Why do you have those long teeth?" And he said,